Keefe he's claiming that he wasn't in Vegas when Pac got shot.
That's up to the prosecution to prove that. The burden of proof is on the prosecution.
30 years after Tupac was shot dead on the Las Vegas Strip, one man is finally standing trial for it. But this week, in an exclusive Art of Dialogue interview, the man who used to bodyguard Sean Combs said something that pulls his old boss into the case without Combs ever being charged.
That's why they would want me to come testify. Because they want to put an association with Keefe and Diddy.
That's Eugene Deal. For years, he was Diddy's head of security. Now prosecutors reportedly want him under oath, and so he says the defense does also. He's already told both of them no. Gene Deal isn't new to this story or to this channel. He spent close to 2 decades on Diddy's payroll, through the years when the East Coast and West Coast were at open war. Since then, he's talked about most of it on record, including what he says he knows about Kenneth McGriff and Murder Inc. Now he's talking about something narrower, his own name sitting on a witness list in the murder trial of the man accused of orchestrating Tupac's death. Please consider subscribing to the channel because I make weekly documentaries that break down complex topics like this. Also, click the like button and drop a comment if you want to help push this video in the algorithm.
A lot of people want to know if you're going to testify in his trial.
Well, you know, they had my name, a lot of other people that they want to bring in, and with my name on the witness list, you know, I found it funny. The only reason they would want to have my name on the witness list is to make some connections with Keefe and Puffy, Diddy, Papa Diddy Pop, Sean John, whatever that dude, Brother Love, whatever he called his name, they're gonna want to try to make some connections with Keefe and him.
Both sides came calling, the defense first.
I spoke to Keefe lawyer, and he wants me to come and testify. And I told him that I was not going to testify. I'll be telling the prosecutor the same thing that I'm telling him.
He turned down both sides and says he's prepared to be held in contempt for it.
I'm not doing it. You can't get me to go in there and testify. And if I had to sit down, you know what I'm saying, because they want to deem me a hostile witness or they want to deem me uncooperative, you know what I'm saying, and hold me in contempt, they could do that. I don't have a problem with that.
To understand why Deal's name is even on that list, rewind past the murder to a New York drug associate named Eric Zip Martin and how he ended up standing between 2 very different men.
You're going to hear another name. Eric Zip Martin. Now, Eric Zip Martin is not a member of the Southside Compton Crips. In fact, he's based out of New York. He's involved in the drug trade and knows Dwayne Davis as a result of both their involvements in the drug trade. Dwayne Davis from the West Coast, Eric Zip Martin from the East Coast. And one of the connections that Dwayne Davis gets through his association with Zip Martin is with Sean Puffy Combs, who was then the CEO of Bad Boy Entertainment.
By the district attorney's own account, that connection ran both ways. Davis, the man now on trial, worked unofficial security for Combs' artists on the West Coast, the same kind of job Gene Deal held on the East Coast.
He admits that he got a Glock 40 from Eric Zip Martin for the purposes of hunting Tupac. He admits that he was in a white Cadillac with his gang members looking for Tupac. He admits to seeing Tupac in a black BMW and then changing directions, making that U-turn to confront Tupac and Sean. He admits to putting the gun he obtained that night in the back seat of the vehicle so the shooters could shoot.
That's the prosecution's account of where the gun came from, not Compton. According to Davis's own confession, it came from Zip Martin, the same man who connects him to Combs. The claim that Combs offered money for the killing doesn't come from a tabloid, and it doesn't come from Deal. It comes from a recording, Davis's own words, made under a proffer agreement in 2008 and played for a jury for the first time this week.
Prosecutors played a recording of Davis speaking to prosecutors during a 2008 police interview. Take a listen to Davis claiming his nephew, Orlando Anderson, shot Tupac.
So Orlando shot across Dre?
He leaned over on the window, we rolled down the window, popped. They would drove on my side, I would have popped them. You know what I'm saying? But they was on the other side.
Right.
That interview wasn't supposed to be about Tupac at all. Investigators were there about the murder of Biggie Smalls.
But as they were interviewing him about that and using drugs as a ruse to get him into a room to begin talking to him about Biggie Smalls, that he blurted out, "We didn't have anything to do with that, but we did the other one." And they went, "Wait a second, what?"
That's the moment prosecutors say Davis first put himself in the car. And according to a retired detective sworn testimony this week, this first named Combs as the man behind the money that was supposed to pay for it. So what does Gene Deal actually know? On camera, he's been careful to separate what he witnessed from what he was only told.
From what I know, from what I was told, I can't say what I know. What I was told, the people that was from New York, they was with Keefe D. So if that's what he want to do, he knows the burden of proof is on them. They're going to have to get somebody in there to say that Keefe D was at this place. Me and Keefe D ate lunch at this time. Keefe D is in this picture. This burden of proof is on them. He could say that. He could be confused about the time. It could be another. He's an older gentleman. He's suffering from certain things. He's had chemo treatment. He could forget. He could say this. He could say that. But the burden of proof is on the prosecution.
He's also spent years correcting a different story that keeps attaching itself to his name, a supposed $1 million check, allegedly meant to pay for the hit.
A lot of people got that whole statement about Eric Von Zip having that $1 million check wrong. You understand? And because I made a Floridian slip and probably said some shit like when I was on Doggy Diamond's show and I said the check for Tupac, but it wasn't the check for Tupac. And I straightened it out right then and there. But you got these internet guys that want to go and run with it, and I'm going to straighten it out right here on the Art of Dialogue. Zip had, I think it could have been a McLaren, or I don't know if it was the Continental. I know they're two separate cars, you should be able to tell, but I can't recall which one he was driving that he was coming to show us and show off because he said he was going to do something to him. We was on 112th Street again, me and my god brother. Boom dang. So now we sitting there and Zip come out and he talking the stuff he talked, showing the car off and the whole 9 yards. He pulls out this check out of his back right pocket and showed us the numbers, and it was for $1 million. He said he got it from Barry Hankerson and, Barry Hankerson and Jimmy Henchman for Black Ground Records. That's what he told us he got the check for Black Ground Records. He sold his record company. So I was like, Zip had walked out. I looked at my god brother and I said, I ain't know Zip had a record company. He said, you know, Zip be in all kinds of shit, bro. I said, damn. So now years went by and the whole 9 yards. And I remember Keefe D coming to Harlem. But Zip already knew what he was coming to Harlem for. It wasn't that Zip didn't know that Keefe wasn't trying to line him up. He had already knew that.
Hankerson and Henchman were music industry figures. Hankerson ran Black Ground Records. Henchman was a manager. By Deal's own telling, that check was a business payout, unconnected to Tupac. But in that same conversation, he makes a separate claim. One, he says, he heard firsthand, not secondhand.
When Pac and Big got into it, I heard Diddy say out of his mouth, and I was with somebody and I spoke about this on several occasions. Diddy said out of his mouth, I don't give a f if Pac gotta die. I don't give a f if Suge. No, I don't give a f if Pac gotta die. I don't give a f if Big gotta die, Suge Knight can go to jail. That came out of his mouth. That's the only time I ever heard him wish death on Big. That's the only time I heard him wish death on Pac. Now, it was certain individuals around him, D-Mac, a Compton Crip that was working for him, used to say, I told Puff we could get rid of these niggas. He used to always talk the shit. He was the one, the night where I was trying to keep them in the house. The night that Big got killed, I was trying to keep them in Andre Harrell's house. He said, yo, Big G, we lock and load together. And I said, I don't see nobody locking, I don't see nobody load nothing.
That's the kind of first-hand claim a decades-old jailhouse tape can't provide, and exactly the kind of testimony that would turn a 30-year theory into a live legal problem. So far, it's also only Gene Deal's word. Deal has his own theory for the timing.
Because if he had Tupac killed, if he put up the money for Tupac to be killed, then it's easier for them to say that gangbangers, and it's easier for them to say that somebody associated with Death Row killed Biggie. You understand what I'm saying? So now we got to keep this going. So we got to use Keefe D and his association with Diddy, Papa Diddy Pop, Brother Love, Puff, whatever his name is. We got to keep their association going along with each other. So that's why he was saying that they wanted Diddy, because Miss Wallace had that $400 million lawsuit against the LAPD. So they wanted to implicate Diddy in that whole stuff with Keefe D so they can get out of that whole situation of that lawsuit.
Combs has never been charged in Tupac's death, and his camp has already denied any involvement tied to this trial. He's currently serving 50 months on an unrelated federal conviction, with no stated link between that case and Las Vegas. None of that settles anything. The trial is ongoing. Gene Deal has told both sides no, and said he's willing to sit in contempt over it. Whether that holds once a subpoena actually shows up is the next open question in a case that keeps finding new ones.